Rebecca Simmons, Becky to anybody who mattered, sat shackled in a sleek, chilly interrogation chamber aboard the Imperial flagship, Zephyrin Prime. The walls glittered with an unnatural sheen, built to be both terrifying and sterile, the exact essence of galactic oppression. The room buzzed gently, a silent, eerie backdrop to the scene about to unfold. Across from her stood Commander Graf, a towering, reptilian monster with metal plating running down his spine. He exhaled in annoyance, his jagged teeth grinding audibly. Interrogations were supposed to be straightforward, threaten, inflict pain, extract information. But Becky wasn't playing along. Her wrists and ankles were held in place by restraints embedded into the chair, the kind made to hold warriors twice her size. Yet, her posture seemed comfortable, even casual, as if she were resting at a cafe rather than strapped to an execution device. She tilted her head and glanced at Graf with an expression that bordered on amusement. "So," she remarked, "do you have a screenplay for this, or are we just winging it?" Graf's scaled brow twitched. The girl had been caught on a tiny colony world, fighting with the last vestiges of human resistance. She should have been afraid. Instead, she acted like she was in a horrible comic performance. "The Emperor demands explanations," Graf hissed, stretching his clawed fingers. "Tell us the location of your people's command center, and your suffering will be fleeting." Becky snorted. "Oh yeah? Classic villain speech. Let me guess, next you'll say, 'We have ways of making you talk.'" Graf's fist clenched, though he kept his emotions in check. Humans. They were unpredictable, volatile. It defied all logical rules of behavior. He had interrogated innumerable convicts, but none had ever faced their doom with this degree of defiance. "Begin," he ordered. A nearby technician activated the device. The shackles pulsed with energy, sending a wave of electric pain across Becky's body. Her muscles seized, her vision blurred, her teeth clenched against the agony. Yet, when the energy dissipated, she breathed sharply and let her head sink back into the chair. "Is that all you got?" she mumbled, her voice raw but defiant. Graf's jaw tightened. "Up the voltage." Another charge. Greater this time. Her body convulsed furiously, but then, through clenched teeth, she let out a strained chuckle. "You know, this isn't the worst thing I've sat through," she rasped. "There was this one Fast and Furious sequel that was genuine torture." Graf was losing patience. The technicians exchanged doubtful glances. The girl should have been shattered by now. Then, the doors swung open with a hushed mechanical hiss. Silence settled over the room. Emperor Zir himself entered, accompanied by his elite guards. He was a figure of gigantic, regal menace, his enormous frame shrouded in obsidian garments interlaced with strands of luminous gold. His eyes, two pools of molten silver, narrowed in fascination at the human before him. "So," he murmured, his voice measured, carrying the weight of eons, "this is the one who opposes us." Becky lifted her head, blinking through the lingering agony. "Oh wow. The big boss himself," she muttered. "What did I do, break your favorite toy?" Zir studied her as one might study a strange specimen under glass. "Humans," he mumbled, stepping closer. "Such frail creatures, and yet you refuse to break. I must admit I find you intriguing." Becky rolled her eyes. "Oh great, a monologue. Just get it over with." Graf tensed, expecting the Emperor's fury at such insolence. Yet Zir simply smirked, cold and calculating. "Very well," he said. "No more delays." He raised a hand, and the technicians hurried to alter the settings. The energy coursing through Becky's body was amplified tenfold. A scream tore from her throat before she could stop it. Her body arched violently against the restraints, as white-hot pain scorched through every nerve. It felt like being flayed from the inside out, like her very soul was being burned away. The torture went on and on. Time lost all meaning. Somewhere in the haze of torment, she heard Zir's voice, distant, quiet. "You are an anomaly, Rebecca Simmons. A human who refuses to submit." His voice turned curious. "I wonder, how far can you go before you finally break?" Blackness crept into her vision. Her heartbeat paused. Every muscle in her body strained against the inevitable. Then, quiet. Her head collapsed forward. The straps held her limp form in place, but there was no movement, no sound. The monitoring devices confirmed it. Rebecca Simmons was dead. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Then, Zir exhaled, almost disappointed. A pity, he mumbled. He turned to his guards. Dispose of the body. There is nothing more to learn here. 2 soldiers approached, unlocking the clamps. Her lifeless body crumpled forward, hitting the floor unceremoniously. One guard prodded her with his boot. No response. Zir turned to leave, another inconsequential death in the vast order of the Empire. But then, 40 minutes later, everything changed. Alarms blared across the halls. Technicians scrambled to their positions, eyes wide with disbelief. Surveillance feeds flickered, showing something impossible. In the morgue, where Becky's corpse had been left for disposal, the footage showed movement. Her fingers trembled. Her whole body shook. Then, with an almost leisurely stretch, she sat up. The medical staff on duty barely had time to react. She cracked her neck, rolled her shoulders, then looked around with an expression of mild irritation. "Yep," she muttered. "That was unusual." The guard stationed nearby hesitated. She had been dead, proven dead, yet she was rising to her feet, perfectly uninjured. Her once warm brown eyes now flickered with something unnatural, something else. The lead guard raised his weapon. "Stand down," he shouted. "You, whatever you are, return to the table immediately." Becky looked at him, then sneered. "Nah." Before they could react, she moved too fast. 1 second she was standing in place, the next, a fist crashed into the guard's chest. He flew back, slamming into the opposite wall. With a sickening crunch, the others barely had time to react. That was their mistake. Becky's movements were fluid, instinctive. One soldier swung a plasma baton. She dodged, grabbed his arm, twisted, and snapped it. Another fired his rifle. She sidestepped, closed the distance, then slammed his head into the metal table. The last one tried to run. She kicked him so hard he dented the reinforced wall behind him. And just like that, it was over. Becky stood in the center of the destruction, hands on her hips, surveying the mess. "All right," she sighed. "I think I should go say hi to the Emperor." With a grin, she stepped forward, unaware of the chaos she was about to unleash. Weapon, the ultimate contingency, a creature of pure devastation, the only thing in the galaxy that might be able to stop her. The Emperor's eyes clouded. It was time to release the beast, and Becky, she was ready for round 2. The warship rocked with the intensity of the oncoming fight, sirens howling in protest against the complete chaos Becky had unleashed upon the Galactic Empire's most guarded spacecraft. The corridors were littered with broken weapons, fallen soldiers, and a variety of alien technologies she hadn't quite worked out but had joyfully repurposed as blunt instruments. The Empire had hurled everything at her, and she had shrugged it off like an unpleasant commercial break. Zir sat rigid on his throne, eyes fixated on the central hollow screen, where security feeds portrayed Becky's unstoppable rampage. She moved like something out of a nightmare, or a really fantastic action movie, evading plasma blasts with effortless precision, using the walls to propel herself forward. At one point, she even flipped over a barricade, landing on an unsuspecting officer's shoulders before kicking him unconscious. She was raw, relentless momentum fueled by defiance, and a rising feeling of invincibility. "This is inconceivable," a high-ranking officer whispered. "She's a human. She should be dead." Gara folded his arms. "Yeah, well, so should most of us after what she's done." Zir's claws tapped against the armrest of his throne. His empire was absolute, his will was law, and yet here was a single human tearing through his greatest warriors as if they were background extras in a poorly orchestrated fight scene. "This cannot proceed," the Emperor said coldly. "Deploy the honor guard." Gath tensed at the mention of the Empire's most elite warriors. They were undefeated, feared across the galaxy, dressed in obsidian armor, brandishing weapons forged from collapsed star matter. They were more legend than truth. If anyone could halt Becky, it would be them. Meanwhile, Becky had just found a vending machine. It stood awkwardly in the middle of the carnage, a bright and completely out-of-place relic amid an otherwise grim corridor of destruction. She popped open one of its compartments and pulled out what looked remarkably like a protein bar. Tearing down the wrapper, she muttered, "This better not taste like cardboard." She took a bite. Her face immediately twisted in disgust. "Gosh, it does." She chucked the rest aside, wiped her hands, and continued down the corridor, oblivious to the gathering force ahead. It was only when she heard the coordinated stomp of armored boots that she recognized she wasn't alone. The honor guard.